Hi there, everyone. It's been a while since we saw each other on this channel, since I spoke to you. And as you can see from the video and the title, today I am bringing you a quite exciting clean with me. We are selling our house, actually. At the time of editing this video, we sold the house, and there will be more news and more updates on that on videos to come. But I always get out of breath when I start recording voiceovers. It's like I forget to breathe, which seems a bit silly. Like, how can you forget to breathe? Anyway, I'm also gonna record this voiceover all in one go. As in, I'm not gonna go back to correct myself. So there might be a few mistakes here and there in my speech because, I don't know, voiceovers are just not my thing. I'm not very good at them, but every time I record one, I always aim to be 1% better than I was on the previous one. So anyway, like I was saying, we are at the time of recording the video in the process of selling our house. So the cleaning, this cleaning with me, was me following a list of tasks that I always had whenever we had a house visit. So whenever people were coming to look at the house, I had a list of things that I was following and that I would do before said visit to make the house look better. And I'll share that list of things with you in just a second. You'll also see it at the end of the video because I'm ticking them off just to make sure I've done it all. But in a second, I'll let you know what's on my list. But basically, the theory behind this is it's not that people will buy the house with furniture, because obviously they will not. But I have the feeling, and I'm of the opinion, that when you go see a house to buy or even to rent, you're gonna judge the house based on the things you can see. So obviously, especially if you're buying the house, you'll be more interested in the condition of the things, like the walls, the floors, the carpet, things like that, things that are going to stay in the house. But obviously, not everything is visible, and not everything is impossible to disguise. Like, there will be some things that you can disguise. So you can never be 100% sure on what you're getting when you buy a house. However, if the overall feeling of the house is that it's clean, it's nice, and it's tidy, it smells good, I feel that at that point you can kind of assume that in general, the house will be in a good condition. Like, once you see it empty, if you do decide to buy it, and once all the furniture is removed and all of that, you can kind of assume that in general it will be in good condition. Or obviously it won't be perfect because people have lived there before, but if you feel and if you see that the people living there currently made an effort to show you the house at their best, then you can probably assume that they've been looking well after the house. Because there's some things that you cannot pretend. Like, you can tidy up as much as you want before a viewing, but if for years you have disregarded your house, you're not going to be able to cover everything up, you know what I mean? Unless you go around and literally paint some walls and, I don't know, replace the carpet. There will always be signs. So what I'm trying to say is, when we are having a house visit, I go around and I clean and I tidy the house following that list that I'll mention in a minute. But it's because I want people to look at the house and to feel good in it, and obviously increase the chances of them buying the house. I will tell you at the moment, because like I said, we already sold the house. We're still living here, but it's been a while. It's a very long process, around 3 to 4 months for the house sale to go through. So I will tell you that we had the house on market for only a month. For 1 month, we had viewings coming. The first few were a bit underwhelming per se, because it was people that were looking to study the market and see what kind of houses were available to buy, but they were not yet in a position where they could purchase a house, i.e. For the majority of them, I think, it was just a case of either they didn't have their house on the market yet, or they did, but they were still waiting for their house to sell, and they could only make an offer once their house sells. So we had a few visits like that, and it's a bit underwhelming, like I was saying, because you go through all this effort, tidying, cleaning, getting your expectations high, and then people come, they view the house. Also, you spend hours cleaning, and then they come and they view the house in like 20 minutes. But you get your expectations high, and then they tell the estate agent, oh my God, yes, we love it, we really want it, we want to put an offer down, but we can't yet, but as soon as we're able to, we will. But then that never happens because you don't know what kind of house they are trying to sell. You don't know what kind of property they have, if it's good, if it's appealing, if it's not. So it never happened with us, at least, that those people who were like, as soon as we can buy it, we will. We never got to the point where they actually did. But that might just as well be because when a month in, when we got the viewing of the ones that ended up buying the house, they were already in a position where they were able to make an offer if they wanted to. Their house had already been sold and it was already going through the very long process. But basically, they could put an offer down, and that's exactly what happened. They saw the house, they liked it, and they put an offer down. They put an offer that was under our asking price, like considerably less than the asking price. And when the estate agent called us and told us they made an offer and this is what they're offering, we said no, because it was so much money less that we knew that with that money, we had done our calculations prior, obviously. So we knew that that wasn't enough money for us to be able to afford the next house that we wanted. So we were willing to negotiate, but not that much. Either way, we told the estate agents, oh my God, that's really nice. It was the first family putting an offer down on our house, so obviously we were excited. But we told them no, because it was less money, way less money than what we were expecting. So the estate agent passed on the word to that family, and I kid you not, they called an hour or two later, the estate agent, and they said that the family raised their offer to asking price, which was the best case scenario. You couldn't ask for anything better. Well, maybe if someone offered more than asking price. But yeah, so they just offered asking price. So basically they paid for the house what we were selling it for, which is great. We didn't have to negotiate. They offered it. Obviously we said yes to that proposal straight away. And that was the day we sold our house technically. And for the last few months we have been going through the process with all the lawyers and all the things. So it's a very long process, and I did record kind of a vlog through the months of everything that was going on, and that will be one of the next videos coming out on this channel. I feel like most of the next videos are all about this process and things that have been happening meanwhile, except one, because I do have a daily vlog, just one day of the day where my son turned 8 months old, because I realized that I hadn't recorded any more of those day updates. I recorded one when he was 1 month old, and my idea back then was that I was going to do it maybe not every month, but every other month or something on the day that he becomes 1 more month old. And that it would be a good way of later looking back and seeing the things we were doing back then and how he was looking and how our daily routines were looking. But then you know how it is, life gets in the way, and I ended up never recording any of those videos until he turned 8 months old. And I realized that I was lacking in that, because it was something that I wanted to do mostly for myself. Obviously, I put it online because I like sharing, but this channel is one of those projects that I consider it's mostly for myself and for me to look back in time through the years, which is also one of the reasons why I'm not too not too bothered by keeping an upload schedule and being too strict about it, because I don't have a lot of views, and that's perfectly fine, because this is something that I do for myself and for the sake of memory keeping. So like I was saying, most of the videos upcoming will be about the moving process and selling the house, packing, all of those things. But at some point in the mixture, there will be a day vlog of when he turned 8 months old, which I still have to edit, but it will be coming shortly at some point, I hope. It's chaotic. My life at the moment is chaotic. Editing takes a long time, and yes, I don't always have the time to edit. I'm not trying to make any excuse. I'm just trying to explain, and that's fine. So back to the sale process and what's going on. Oh, before we move any further along, let me share with you the list of the things that I do when we're about to have people over for a house viewing. The theory behind it is literally my life motto, which is clean what can be seen. I always clean like that. I hate like moving furniture to clean behind it. I probably should be better about it, but I'm not. So my life motto in general is clean what can be seen, but I feel like that applies extra especially when you're having a house visit, because what are people going to be seeing? The things that can be seen. So basically it's a general clean and a general tidy, and just make sure that the house looks as good as it can. So here's the list of things that I do in my house and that you have been seeing me doing during this video. No specific order, by the way. Close laundry basket, clean the bathroom sinks, fix the garden light, because we do have like a stream light around us, around the garden, and one of our dogs likes to pull it out. Tidy the sofas, put a blanket on the bed if it's dirty. And this, I feel like I need to explain this topic. So we have a set of white bed sheets, and that set has some mud stains on them, on the duvet cover. I know it's not ideal, but it is what it is. We have 2 dogs, and at some point they ran to the garden during the winter, and then they ran upstairs and they got onto the bed with muddy paws. Obviously, I've washed the bed sheets straight away, but did you know that mud stains actually stain? I don't know. I didn't know that mud was one of those things that stains, but it does. So the white sheets that we have those stains on them, and it's something that we want to address, and we want to replace the bed sheets, but they are expensive, and that's not an expense that it's in the cards for right now. Hopefully when we move home, we will then get rid of that set and get another one. Anyway, so this point on the list is basically, if we have the white bed set on, because we do have a second set and sometimes we have that one, but if we do have the white one, because I don't want people to think we're disgusting and we have our bed dirty, even though it's not dirty, it's just stained, I will then cover the bed with a blanket. That's the explanation. I feel like I needed to address this. Carrying on. Empty the bathroom bin, open the bedroom curtains, make the bed, put the dishes in the dishwasher, clean the stove, clean the kitchen table, tidy my office, spray the whole house with one of those nice smelling sprays, tidy our son's bedroom, tidy Josh's office, mop the floors, and vacuum. Obviously, it's not in this order. I would obviously vacuum before I mop. This is just the way the list is written. But these are my things on my list, and this is everything that I go through before having a house viewing. Some things might not be needed. So, for instance, if I have a viewing today, I will do all of these things. And then if I have another viewing tomorrow, I probably don't need to mop the floors again because I just did. So obviously I'll adjust depending on the needs. These are the things that I've been doing during this video, and I know I'm not commenting on them, but you can see on the screen, everything is very straightforward. You can see me scrubbing the sink and vacuuming and doing all these things. You can see what I'm doing, and now you have the context of this is the list that I'm following. So I basically go around the house, do what I can remember, and then I keep checking the list just to see if there's things that I forgot meanwhile and need doing. And then at the end, I will check the list again, just to make sure everything is done and that the house is looking as good as it is. So what else can I tell you? Life is very chaotic at the moment, and I'm glad that we're having this opportunity to chit chat. I could put some music over this video, but I always prefer, when I'm watching these videos myself, I always prefer to have it as a bit of a podcast and hear what the person is getting on about with life. So like I said, we sold the house. Very exciting. Very quickly we did that. And now, let me tell you, we are 1 week and a half away from actually moving out, which is crazy. Things are getting real. I'm getting very nostalgic. I'm a very nostalgic person in general. And I don't know if it's part of my personality. I mean, I feel like at this point it must be part of my personality. But I've always been like this, very emotional, very sentimental, and very, very nostalgic. So when I look at this house, right now, just before it gets chaotic. It's already a little bit chaotic because there's a few things out of place, but in general it's not too bad because we haven't started packing. But when I look at the house, what I feel, what I see is a bunch of happy memories. This was the first house that we bought together. Not the first house where we lived together, but the first one that we bought. And it's very far away from all our friends and family. We moved to this random city for no specific reason but to buy this house, because the area where we were living before was very expensive and we couldn't afford a house there. So we moved very far away so we could afford a house, because that was one of our goals as a couple, as a family, was to buy a house at some point. So we did. So I feel like in a way this was the first step of you and me against the world. And not in a way of against the world, because obviously we weren't against the world. It was more distant from the world. We didn't have our support network here. We moved away from everyone. So when I look at this house, I see that big step that we did of moving away from everyone and relying on ourselves and on each other. I see that this was the house in which we did the biggest lockdown in the UK. I'm not gonna say what or when or why because everyone knows what I'm talking about. But in the UK, there was 3 lockdowns, I think. And was it the last one? I don't remember exactly which number of lockdown it was. One that happened during the Christmas period and it ended up being extended and extended and extended and ended up being the longest one of them all. We did that one here, away from everyone, just us here. This was also the house in where we were when we got engaged. We got engaged during a holiday in Thailand, and this was where we were living when that happened. So this was the house that we left to go on a holiday, and we came back engaged. And again, it was the house that we left, and we came back married one day. It was also the house to which we brought our second dog, Miku, the orange one. You've probably seen her a few times in the videos. We have 2 ones. Suki's the black one, and Miku is the orange one. Suki, we had her already by the time we moved here, so we brought her with us. But Miku came to this house. This was the house where we got her when she was a puppy. And then obviously this was the house in which we were living when I was pregnant during my whole pregnancy, the house where we brought our son to, his first bedroom, his nursery. So there's a lot of good things happening that happened in this house and a lot of memories. And in a way, it feels like our life started here. This doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make any sense at all if I stop and think a bit about it. Because, like I said, we lived together before in a different house, different city, different everything. It feels like it was a different life, to be honest. But this was the house that saw us through our monumental life changes. And selling it and moving out, and even now looking at this video and seeing how everything was nice and tidy and perfect, because like I said, things are a bit chaotic at the moment. Looking back, this was a very important house in the history of us and our family. And so saying goodbye to this house, even though it's obviously by choice, we were the ones who decided to sell it and move it and do other things with our lives, even though it's by choice, it's something that is very bittersweet. We are excited for what's to come. And don't get me wrong, my husband is nearly not as nostalgic or as emotional about this as I am. So I talk about our perspective, but let's be honest and real, it's probably just my perspective. But I am very excited for what's to come. I am. We are moving to a different country. So we did a big move to this house because it was a different city, like I said. And I feel like now we're doing an even bigger move because we're moving to a different country. Crazy. But I look at this house and I'm sad to leave it. I don't love the place where we live. I don't love the place where the house is. There's nothing wrong with the town itself, but I don't love the people, I'm not gonna lie. I know my husband shares this opinion with us. So we both really love the house, and we wish, we had this conversation several times, we wish we could just pick up the house and teleport it somewhere else, because the house is absolutely perfect, is big, is comfortable, it's home. And that's something that took me a while to be able to call this house a home. When we first moved in here, took me several months. I've always liked the house, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have bought it. But for months, I didn't have that feeling of it being home. And I don't know if that's because I really, really liked our previous house and I was so used to it. And again, I felt like the previous house was so comfortable and so us, and it was the beginning of our story. Again, I'm a very nostalgic person, what can I say? But yeah, it took me months to get used to this house and to feel at home here. And to get that feeling, you know, when you leave your house and then you come back a few days later and you're like, oh my God, it's so good to be back home. It took me a while to get that feeling. Like I would come back to this house and I wouldn't feel, oh, it's good to be home, because I didn't feel like it was home. And in a way, now it makes me a little bit sad because it took me so long to feel at home. And now that I do, we're leaving. Although that's just how life is, right? Eventually you need to leave, you need to move on, you need to do bigger things with your life. I mean, I'm saying you need to, you don't need to. Some people just like staying in the same place forever, and I guess that's fine. But we have big plans for our life and for our family, and this move is definitely part of that plan. We've always said that this house was a temporary house for us, and that it was, let's call it, a stepping stone on the market ladder. Houses are very expensive, and we are not Gen X's. We are millennials, and if you know anything about millennials, is that it's impossible to buy a house because everything is so expensive. And I would like to add to that it's not impossible, it just requires a lot of effort and sacrifice. In our case, we sacrificed being close to the people we love, our family, our friends, and moving to this random town in the middle of nowhere. That was our big sacrifice in order to afford a house. And I think that, to be honest, more people should talk about it, because people and millennials will say those things like it's impossible to buy a house. And it's like, yes, okay, I get it. It's very difficult, and I'm not taking it for granted at all. And I'm very grateful that we were able to, and that if some things had laid out in a different way, we probably wouldn't have been able to. So I'm very grateful, and please don't take these words that I'm saying as me being ungrateful. But people will lean against that excuse of it's impossible to buy a house, no one can afford it. And it's not. It's not. You just have to be willing to sacrifice. And if you are not willing to sacrifice, then that's perfectly fine. And just then accept that you don't want to sacrifice anything, and you want your life to remain as it is. And one of those consequences will be that you might not be able to buy a house at this point in your life, maybe in the future, or maybe it's not even a priority. I know some people who have no interest in buying a house. And I also feel like people put a lot of, not pressure, but maybe emphasis in buying the house. Like, it's fine that some people don't have that as an ultimate goal. I think not everyone needs to have the same goals in life. That's why we're all so different. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I don't even know what I was saying when I started this sentence, to be honest. What was I saying? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. But yes, we're leaving this house. We are closer to leaving it than we were of staying here, and it's exciting, but it's very sad. I'm excited to go live in a different country. It's such a big move. I am obviously scared. I'm worried that it was the wrong decision. I think it all comes as a package when you're a very nostalgic person, is that you worry, you stress, you're sad. But I want to share here and remind myself as well for in the future when I'm watching this video back, that I'm also very excited, and all the good memories and all the good moments that we had in this house, there will be more good memories and so many more good moments in other houses. And I've always said this because I'm not from the UK. I moved here a bunch of years ago, and I've always said that home is not a place, it's a person or a group of people. Home is where your family is, and that's the most important thing. And if there's one thing that I've learned from living abroad all these years, is that you will feel at home again in different places, in different cities, in different towns. So I don't know if you were needing to hear this today, but there's my piece of life. And thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, there will be more news and updates and things coming this way shortly. So I hope you stick around to watch all of that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.